There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
This road is the afterwards of the Civil War. It began at Fort Sumter, South Carolina, and ended at a place called Appomattox. It's littered with the residue of broken battles and shattered dreams. In just a moment, you will enter a strange province that knows neither north nor south, a place we call the Twilight Zone.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast, the Twilight Zone series. I'm your host, Jimbo.
And I'm your other host, co-host, 80Z. Glad to be in here on a holiday.
We're in here in the frozen tundra.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, if you hear any noise background, it won't be an ambulance. It'll be Eric's teeth chattering, or maybe his old bones.
Yeah, really.
But, Eric, today we will be discussing episode 4 of season 3, The Passersby. And finally, season 3 has knocked one out of the park for me.
Oh, okay.
So this is a really good episode. I know you're probably like, oh, it's kind of stupid.
No.
We'll get there. But I was watching it again last night. I watched it 3 times in the last 24 hours. And to me, this might make my top 10 list of all the Twilight Zones.
Wow. That's saying something.
It's very interesting because, once again, once you just start doing some research on some just little words that they've thrown in there or some historical facts, and you do some research on it and you dig deeper, it makes you appreciate the episode that much more.
Yeah.
And the attention to detail that they placed in there is very amazing. So, without further ado, Eric, take it away.
All right. The Passerby. This is the Twilight Zone season number 3, episode number 4. It was directed by Elliot Silverstein, written by Rod Serling, I'll get his name right, and the featured music is by Fred Steiner. The original air date for this particular episode was October the 6th, 1961, so you know what time it is, folks. That's right, it's time for On This Day in History. All right, so Jimbo's looking at me for October 6th. Do you want to go ahead and give your On This Day in History stuff?
Well, what I found on this exact date in history of October 6, 1961, as we talked about last week during the shelter, JFK gives his advice for Americans to build the fallout shelters.
Right. We talked about that last episode.
Thinking, did you ever see that movie, Blast from the Past, where Brendan Fraser and his family did come out?
And his dad invested in IBM stock, and he came up like 50 years later, and he was a millionaire. That was a pretty cool movie.
Yeah, but that got me thinking about this, building a fallout shelter, because they were down there for a long time. So there's that. But also, the top grossing movies of 1961. Eric, do you have a guess, a wild guess? I got the top 2 movies.
Top grossing movies of 1961. Oh, man, you're going to have to probably give me somewhat of a hint.
Number 1, 101 Dalmatians, coming in at $102,399,700.
Okay.
Far below, so dogs dominated that movie that year, but number 2, way down with only $43,700,000 is what? It's a musical.
A musical that has dogs in it?
No, well, I mean, Eric, if you're going to call actresses and actors dogs, then maybe.
No, hold on. It's coming to me. Why am I thinking?
You want me to give you a hint?
The Hills Are Alive with singing? Oh, no.
I just met a girl named Marie.
No.
Yes, it is.
No, I'm saying I'm not.
West Side Story coming in at number 2.
I was thinking, what's the one with Julie Andrews?
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music.
Yes. But also, the number 1 song still is Take Good Care of My Baby by Bobby V. But the number 1 R&B song, Eric, from none other than Ray Charles and his orchestra is
Hit the Road Jack.
Hit the Road Jack.
Yeah.
And Don't You Come Back No Mo, No Mo.
Right.
So that's what I have for the October 6th and 1961.
For that specific day in 1961. Oh, that's good stuff. Let me go all the way back to 1927. Let's talk about The Jazz Singer, starring Al Jolson, premiered in New York City, introducing the sound era of motion pictures. I thought that was somewhat interesting, so all the way back to 1927 and the movie The Jazz Singer. 1960, 1 year earlier, the movie Spartacus, directed by Stanley Kubrick and starring Kirk Douglas. I see him with this sword. And Laurence Olivier. It premiered in the New York City in 1960. And then skip ahead a few years, about 18 years, 1978, Midnight Express. We discussed this off air. I don't think I've ever seen it, or maybe bits and pieces. Have you ever seen it?
It's been a long time if I did, yeah.
Midnight Express film premieres in the U.S., directed by Alan Parker, starring Brad Davis, Randy Quaid, and John Hurt. And one of our favorites here on the show, it was Elizabeth Shue's birthday, October 6, 1963. She was born. She's an American actress, well known for her Cocktail, Back to the Future Part 2, and she was born in Wilmington, Delaware. But we need not forget the great movie Adventures in Babysitting, right? That was covered right here on this podcast.
Eric, let me ask you a question.
That starred Elizabeth Shue. What?
Did you ever have any babysitters that were even remotely attractive?
No, not even close. So Adventures in Babysitting, also an Elizabeth Shue, and The Karate Kid. Cannot leave The Karate Kid off.
Wax on, wax off.
All right. And then finally, in more recent times, which is still a long time ago, about 30 years ago, 1993, Michael Jordan retired from professional basketball saying, "I don't have anything else to prove." Boy, was he wrong. Only to return in May of 1995, and that was a great day. I remember hearing that on the radio, and I was so excited when I heard that he was coming back.
Wearing number 45?
Yeah, and so he returned to go on to win 3 more NBA championship
No, he wasn't wearing
titles.
45 then, was he?
He started out wearing 45 when he came back in 95, but then switched back.
Okay.
So that was October 6th of 1993. So moving on to our episode, and right off the bat, I asked this question: is this the original Walking Dead? You know, I kind of wanted to throw that thought out there because.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah, really. So the Walking Dead. That's what immediately came to my mind. So let's talk about dates of rehearsal and filming for this. But before we do that, let's talk about the total production cost, if we will. It came in at $59,785.35. Let me get that correct. So we're looking at close to $60,000. I didn't put adjusted for inflation. I may do that going forward, but you can just about count on about 10x on those episodes. So $590,000 is what it would be in today's dollars. Dates of rehearsal for this episode were as follows: August the 1st and 2nd of 1961. And then the dates of filming for this episode were August 3rd, 4th, and 7th of 1961. And I'm guessing that was due to a weekend maybe that was stuck in there. And I don't have a lot of information as far as what took place on what day. And I don't know why they did that in my book. The first couple episodes of season 3, they gave some inside snapshots of like the order of filming, kind of, and they haven't done that thus far after the first 2 episodes. So it's kind of cool to know like what they filmed first, if they went in reverse order, or vice versa.
Had to go back and do some extra shooting.
I don't have any specific info on that, but Jimbo, take that illustrious cast away. Who's in this great episode?
Well, this awesome episode stars one of the main characters is James Gregory. You don't get a name from him. All you get is that he's a Confederate sergeant. He was in The Maturing Candidate from 1962, and he was also in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, which we've covered with Brett from the Evil Never Dies podcast, me and Kyle, where he played Ursus. Then you have the other main character of this episode, Joanne Linville. She played Lavinia Godwin. She played in Star Trek. She was, little known fact, she was the first actress to play a female Romulan in the episode The Enterprise Incident in 1968. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay.
Then you had Rex Holman, who played Charlie Constable. Charlie. He was in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, where he played John. He was also, Eric, in a little TV show. I don't know if you remember this. I'm sure you do. Land of the Lost, the TV show, where they go over the raft, over that waterfall, and they end up in... You've never seen it?
I think it sounds familiar.
Michael,
I may have seen
somebody
it.
in Holly. You don't remember the land? Is Sid and Marty's?
No.
Crofts? You'll have to pull it out. I know you do if I'll pull up the...
Yeah, I probably have seen it.
Man, I think I'm dealing with Kyle today. Then we have David Garcia, where he played the Union lieutenant, and he did a very good job in this episode. Pretty creepy. Which I'll have a question for Eric, either there or maybe at the end about this. But he was in, obviously, Twilight Zone, but he was in a movie called Monster from the Ocean Floor from 1954. Sounds exciting. Then you have Warren J. Kimmerling, who played Judd Godwin. He was in a little movie called Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where he played Wild Bill from 1977. And yes, all you Godzilla fans, he was in Godzilla 1985, where he played General Goodhave. And then, yes, probably the performance of a lifetime, Austin Green played President Abraham Lincoln, and
That's
man,
right.
he was awesome. It was like watching the 16th president come to life on the screen, but should be no surprise because he did play Abraham Lincoln in several movies and TV shows, but the one I wrote down was The Story of Mankind, where he played Abraham Lincoln. So very, very well done acting there. And then, yes, an uncredited appearance as a soldier, none other than Jamie Farr. He had a bandaged up face in this, but he was most notably known for Klinger and MASH, which that's an automatic channel changer for me.
Wow.
He was also in the movie Scrooged that we covered not too long ago, and the Cannonball Run. And then, yes, we have Rod Serling, who is the narrator and self-host of The Twilight Zone.
Very good, very good. I also wanted to mention Austin Green. He played...
That's not the guy from Beverly Hills 902.
No, that's Brian Austin Green. The man who portrayed Abraham Lincoln played in another movie back in 1955 called Black Friday. So Black Friday, The Passersby, and the one you mentioned, Jimbo, The Story of Mankind. So he was a dead ringer for our 16th president, and he did a very good job, no doubt. All right, let's get a plot for this episode. In April of 1865, at the end of the American Civil War, a Confederate sergeant with other wounded Union and Confederate soldiers stops to ask Lavinia Godwin for some water. He asks to rest a while, and they talk about the damages of war as she now lives in her destroyed southern mansion. So that's just a quick summary plot of our episode. So, as we really open the episode, opening the camera is pointed downward through the trees. I thought that was a cool little cinematographic trick. And it basically focuses on the dirt road, and then the camera goes from up in the trees and shifts down onto the ground level, and then it's in front of all of the soldiers who are on the dirt road. We see there's a bunch of soldiers all walking, staggering really in one direction on this dirt road. And then we have a voice only here of Rod narration, the introduction, and then later in the episode he's gotten in the habit now in season 3 of sort of splitting his narration. Some of it is off screen or off camera, and then some of it is on camera. So I thought that's a little cool little wrinkle that he put in here in season 3. So Act 1, we're introduced to the Confederate soldier who walks with a crutch, as Jimbo alluded to earlier. He's just given the name Confederate soldier. We never really know his name, and he's one of the two main characters really in the episode. And he's limping down the road with a crutch, and he asks the lady of the house for a drink of water at the well. Right?
Can I just say before that, when he goes, he says. He says, "It was beautiful once, wasn't it?"
Yeah.
He looks at it. "Oh, the tree, I mean, ma'am."
Yeah.
It's like, he came right out. I was
down, destroyed, right.
I thought he was talking about the lady.
Oh.
That's what I think he meant.
Okay.
He had to correct himself.
I didn't pick that part up, but yeah. So he asked the lady of the house for a drink of water And I may need to get a drink of water. I don't know why my voice always goes down here.
Wow, go ahead. I'll take over. So he asks her for a drink of water, and, he drinks, and he says, well, you mind if I sit down here for a minute? And, he pulls out the guitar that he had on his box, and she's sitting on the couch, on the front porch in the old rocking chair, just sitting there, just rocking away like she's withering away to nothing, like she's waiting on something, which you come to find out she is. And the sergeant there just starts strumming on the guitar, and she's like, my husband used to play the guitar.
Right.
And my first thought was, did this guy kill her husband and steal his guitar? I was like, this is going to be the greatest twist of all time if that's the case.
Yeah, I never even thought of that. It comes up fairly early, though, that, her husband is killed early on, and she's there alone. And the unnamed soldier, the Southern soldier, he says that war claims a lot of victims, men, animals, and God's own beauty, after he talks about the destruction of the trees and stuff. Yeah. And he asks her, as you just talked about, can I sit down for a spell? And he begins to play on his quote-unquote git box. Yeah. I've never heard a guitar in all my years ever referred to as a git box. I was like, what in the world? Was that an 1800s slang word?
We won the war, so this been a Confederate thing.
So he sits and plays his git box, and we discover early on that Lavinia's husband was killed at Yellow Tavern with General Stewart, and I think you got some info on that, Joe.
The Yellow Tavern, I thought, man, I wonder if this is a real place, a real something, and come to find out it was. It was a battlefield in Virginia. It was basically where the ultimate Confederate Cavaliers' last battle would take place, and it could still be found in the Richmond suburbs. They halted along the Telegraph Road because they were exhausted, and they came across a ramshackle 3-story structure, which once was a wayside inn that was abandoned, but its known legacy for the color of its failing siding, which was yellow, so they named it the Yellow Tavern.
Oh, okay.
So I thought that was really cool little trivia that they threw in there.
Yeah, that's cool how they lined up, the battles and stuff with the characters that were inside. Well,
and also if it's the ultimate Cavalier's last battle, it makes it more important when the guy that's hiding in the shadow comes riding in on a horse. I thought that tied beautifully together, too. Mm-hmm.
So she describes the Southern mindset here, Lavinia. She talks about how the mindset of those when they were going off to war, the Southern women and the folks that sent the men off to war. She says that they thought they were going to beat the Yanks in a month. Mm-hmm. And as she's talking, she kind of stumbles as she gets out of her chair, and we discover that she says, well, I'm still weak from the fever. So that was one of our first hints, right, that she's had the fever, which, I don't know, rheumatic fever. I don't know what kind of fever. Yeah, all hay fever.
COVID-19.
COVID-18, 19.
1800, COVID 1800.
So she's been ill. So that's our first kind of clue here is she's not feeling 100%. She begs the sergeant, though, to play his git box, if you will, to drown her out because she's tired of hearing her own crying and the footsteps on the road, crying from the death of her husband. And then Rod's narration 1A, if you will, we get a camera on screen. And he says, in just a moment, you will enter a strange province that knows neither north nor south, a place we call the Twilight Zone. So that brings us to our first, commercial. Act 1 is over, and we go into Act 2. And as we come into Act 2, we get the title shot, with the title of the episode and the still photo or whatever. Next, we meet our next character, who is Charlie Constable. And Charlie looks like he's
higher than a kite, man.
Worse for wear. He's got his gaze down to the end of that road, and it is not moving off all of his lines and dialogue with Lavinia. Lavinia runs out to greet him in the
Charlie Constable.
Right, in the road.
It is you. We heard you've been shot in the head.
Yeah, and she says, we thought you'd been killed. That's what everyone said. They said you've been shot in the head at Gettysburg. Right, this has a real Gone with the Wind type of...
She's awesome.
Overplays the whole Southern Belle kind of thing. So, again, we get another hint. A strange compulsion here is pulling Charlie down the road. like I said, he doesn't take his gaze off the road. He's like, I got to unload my pack.
He just drops it all right there.
Lighten his load, and he has to keep going down the road. He doesn't need all this weight, so he drops his gear. And Lavinia, she has a few words for him, right, about his wife or something like that.
Yeah, she's like,
say hello to your wife.
Yeah, she wants to spend time with you.
Yeah.
If you could break away, we'd love to see you.
Right. Yeah.
But I reckon she'll have you tied up for a while or something like that.
Right.
It's like, okay.
So Charlie, in dropping his gear, he also drops his cap. And Lavinia picks up Charlie's cap, and she finds blood on his cap. So
yes, I wrote that down.
2.
I'll wait till we get to the other.
Oh, you're going to wait till the end? Okay.
Well, not till the end, until we get to the Cavalier guy.
Okay. So then nighttime falls, right? Here in front of the southern mansion, if you will. And the sergeant has finished chopping wood, and he tells Lavinia he's a skilled craftsman with wood. He knows everything there is to know about, wood. He's like, I built this git box myself. It's a little Forrest Gump. And they start having just a casual conversation.
He pulls out his git box again.
Yeah, and he starts strumming it, and then they start singing the song again. Black is the color of my
right. But before
hair.
that, our man says, my dad used to tell me that you were going to end up like a good-for-nothing troubadour. So that didn't sit well with Jimbo, so he had to go on a deep dive with the troubadour.
Tell us about it. What is a troubadour?
A troubadour is basically a singer of folk songs, or number 2, it's a lyric poet or a poet-musician of knightly rank from the 11th to the 13th century, mainly in France and northern Italy. However, Eric, as we know before we started this, the good old George Strait sung the song Troubadour. Yeah. So here we go. I have the lyrics of Troubadour, and hopefully Eric don't bust in singing as he did earlier when I told you about it. Yeah. So, I still feel 25 most of the time. I still raise a little cane with the boys, honky-tonk and pretty women. Or woman. Lord, I'm still right there with them, singing above the crowd and the noise. Sometimes I feel like, who, Eric? Jesse James. Still trying to make a name, knowing nothing's going to change what I am. I was a young troubadour when I rode in on a song, and I'll be an old troubadour when I'm gone. So there's a whole nother verse I'm not going to read, but
he's
good old George Strait.
He's still going too, right?
Good old George. Did he finally retire? I know he's not touring anymore because I do believe my sister had tickets to go to Notre Dame to see him when he was touring. But I think COVID shut that down. I never know if he ever made that up or not, but I thought it was a little cool to throw a little George. Anytime you can throw George Strait into an episode, you got to throw him in there.
You got to, George Strait made a movie. Do you remember what the movie was?
Pure Country, baby.
Have you seen that?
Of course.
Going to cover that at some point?
Maybe.
We'll
have to have Eric's special guest star for that with his
my cowboy hat and my get box. I'll bring it in, right? Yeah, that'll be a good time.
Well, I don't know if you come. We may have to switch over to Garth Brooks for Friends in Low Places.
Oh man. Anyway, back to our episode. So, they're exchanging, Lavinia and the sergeant. They're talking, about their lives, maybe, and Lavinia talks about her husband Judd and how he used to sing the same song that the sergeant is singing, and the sergeant discloses a little bit about how proud his father was the day he went off to war, and basically his dad didn't think that he would ever become of anything, but now, going off to war and being a soldier, his dad was really proud. And the mood kind of turns a little bit because Lavinia says, that she owes the Yanks so much, meaning that vengeance and retribution for everything, including her husband's life. Like, she goes on to talk about, I got a shotgun in the house. And
here I am thinking, this guy is sitting here playing her husband's goodbye. That's all I can think about. She's going to come out and blow him away.
So she says they came in like blue locusts, and, they destroyed everything, and she's going to get her revenge and somewhat. So the sergeant warns her that kind of poison sitting on your mind, it'll kill you, right? Mm-hmm. She can't have that kind of animosity. And so I'm skipping ahead a little bit here.
Yeah, she said she was going to kill the man that killed her husband as the last shot of the Civil War.
Yeah, that was a great line. I got that right. That's my next bullet point. She says she's going to take the gun, she's going to point it at the next Yankee, and it's going to be the last shot of the Civil War, which is interesting because Lincoln refers to himself. I'm getting ahead of myself, but as the last casualty of the Civil War. Which I thought that was an excellent line at the end, too. So she says, a bullet in exchange for the one that took her husband. So she's going to get her retribution
Street justice,
on the next
Street
person
justice.
who, I guess, comes down the road. And the sergeant retorts, and he's kind of upset. He says, no, ma'am, I don't want to hear no more talk about butchery, about bloodshed. There's hundreds and thousands of our men and boys that were killed and maimed. And then Mr. Lincoln murdered. No, I don't want to hear that no more. Something to that effect. And, he kind of really tries to set her straight, but it doesn't really work because shortly thereafter, we see a black silhouetted horse and rider that approaches the house. Yeah, the cinematography is great. The shadow that they use on it. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty great. The man looks familiar, though, to the sergeant. It's a Yankee lieutenant, we come to find out, who actually saved the sergeant's life. And very shortly afterwards, Lavinia, she emerges from out of the house with a shotgun in hand, and the sergeant tries to knock the gun down with his crutch. But
he does.
Yeah, he knocks it down and temporarily disables her for a moment, but she then pulls it back up and she fires at the man on the horse. But the man on the black horse doesn't fall. It's upright. She's like, I know I couldn't have missed.
Yeah. All he wants is some water,
Yeah.
And they ask how far are you traveling. He's like, I'm just going up the road. Everybody just seems to be going up the road.
Yeah. So you're right. Like you just said, he asked for the water, and so the sergeant obliges and fetches him the water. And then we have kind of this great reveal that the lieutenant actually died on the battlefield that day, and he died rescuing really the sergeant.
Well, yeah, what was it? The molten steel was in his eyes or whatever. He's yelling that he was blind and blind and blind. And I don't think he knows that he got killed that day. He said they thought they had killed him.
He keeps saying too, like throughout, like it doesn't matter, man. Like after she shot him, like he's already aware that he's dead, maybe, And then he's I got that part, Jimbo, that you just referenced earlier. It says the sergeant lifts the lantern, and we see that the man is blind and that the hot steel that passed overhead. But
did you notice that when they went to give him the water out of the ladle, if you will, he didn't reach out for it. Come to find out that he is blind, so he had to cradle that and then put it up to his lips and drink. And that's when he shines the light up there. And Eric, here's my question to you. You can obviously see the damage done to his face. Mm-hmm. How come when Charlie came by, there was no damage to him that you saw if he took a bullet to the head? And also at the end to Abraham Lincoln, there's no damage to them.
I noticed that. I looked for the bullet, the so-called bullet wound or whatever.
On both of them.
And yeah, Charlie, neither one of them had any visible signs of a wound. Yeah, that was interesting that they only showed the visible wound on the lieutenant on the horse. But again, we come to find out that caused him to go blind because he was actually he was tending to the Confederate soldier. So he wishes them both the best in his parting words, and his line is, "This too shall pass. This too shall pass. Wait and see," as he goes up the road. So that was a really powerful moment. But to answer your original question, I don't know why they chose.
I thought maybe
one and not the other.
I thought maybe the other guy, since he was a Confederate soldier, that in their eyes instead of Union.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of makes sense with some of the trivia that I have
so
later.
You wouldn't recognize, that we're going to win this war. So you would think less down on your enemies or on your own company than you would your enemies. Maybe. I don't know.
Right. You wouldn't want to stir up any more, even though it had been 100 years, you didn't want to stir up any more bad feelings.
Right. Maybe it was just
by showing
overshadowed
mortal wounds on your enemy. I get what you're saying. But even the cap, even Charlie's cap, they didn't even show the blood on the cap, did they? Yeah.
No.
Okay.
They didn't even show the bullet
or the bullet or the blood on
in
the cap. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. Notation, sure. Act 3. So that concludes when the soldier, this too shall pass and walks away. We come to Act 3, and the sergeant, he's decided, it's like the next day, he's decided that he's going to leave. He needs to get back on the road. He was up all night thinking about the blind lieutenant and Charlie Constable, and then all of a sudden it got quiet.
Right.
And there's something at the end of the road, and he has to find out what it is.
Well, he said he was watching, and he noticed that there was Union soldiers and Confederate soldiers both together on the road.
Yep. So Lavinia, she tries to persuade him to stay, and they kind of go back and forth. She says, "I'm going to be all alone," And she has to find some way maybe to try to rebuild her life and all of those things. And then as they're talking, then we hear Judd's voice as he approaches the house.
Is he singing?
I don't know if he's singing or if he calls out to her.
Black is the color or whatever.
Okay.
Of my true love's hair. So she's like, Judd.
Yeah, and then her mood immediately changes. She runs to Judd, gives him a big hug, and then everyone seems to know what is at the end of the road except Lavinia, right? She's trying to grapple with the fact that, which is the twist in this episode that we're going to come to here shortly, but Judd tries to explain it to her in this way. He says it's like a song, and when the last note is played, there's only silence, and then you move on. And then Lavinia asks, "Are we dead?" And
I think before that, I think when Judd and the sergeant have that thing, he's like, "I'm sure you understand what's happening."
Right, they both know what's up.
He's like, "I do now," basically.
She's clueless. And then the twist here is revealed that Lavinia actually died from the fever. Like, they're all dead. And Judd leaves and says, well, she doesn't want to leave. Like, we wants to stay here, right? And
he's like, and the son's just like, "I'm sure I'll be seeing you at the end of the road here shortly."
Yeah, he says, "I'll wait for you at the end of the road, but I gotta go." And then he takes off. And then just as the sergeant leaves first. Yeah. And then Judd explains to Lavinia, and then he leaves and says he'll wait for her at the end of the road. And then, just as he leaves, old honest Abe approaches.
Well, I think you're missing the point where Judd's talking to her, and he said, "Hey, your life's like a song."
Yeah, I said that earlier.
When the notes are done,
you got to move on, right?
Time to move on. And he's like, "Look, you're dead, basically."
Right.
He's like, "And I got to go." So he leaves her, and she's just like, "What?" She still doesn't want to leave.
Right. She's hanging on and clinging to life, or what she thinks is the life that she wants to rebuild. And she falls down sort of when Judd leaves. She's devastated. Then
the good old gentleman Abe dude helps her up.
Mm-hmm. And then that's when he begins to speak to her. And you have the Julius Caesar line.
I do.
Quotes. You want to go ahead and
Shakespeare. And I think it's awesome that she said, "Well, I'm afraid," and he said, "He is too." So I thought that was cool. But the quote he gives her is, "Of all the wonders that I yet have heard, it seems to me most strange that men should fear, seeing that death, a necessary end, will come when it will come." And I thought, wow.
Yeah, and then I love the line, too, where he says, "I'm the last casualty of the Civil War."
And I'm
also the last man on the road.
Yep.
Right. So with that, the scene sort of closes, and Lavinia runs after Judd, tries to catch up with him on the road. And it seems that Abe has convinced her that, her time has come, and he's going to follow up behind her. Even Abe's walk, the stilty walk, it reminded me a lot of, who's the guy that played him in Lincoln? The movie Lincoln, one of my favorite movies, Daniel Day-Lewis. He probably did the best out of anybody.
And we also have the top hat, the famous top hat.
Yeah, the stilty walk that even he had, that Lincoln had, and the high voice also was cited. Like apparently Lincoln had a really high-pitched voice. And, yeah. Anyway.
That's one president I wish I could have met, dude, because he just seems...
Yeah, so Austin Green, hats off to you. Tip of the cap.
My top hat is off to him.
Yeah, exactly, because he did an excellent job. I can't say enough about him. Jimbo, do you want to start us off with some trivia that you have, or
Well,
do you want
Eric-
me to or do you want to volley back and forth?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've only got one thing to read out of this book over
Okay.
here, but
Go ahead.
I do have a question. Well, no, I want to wait because it's
Okay.
going to make me mad, and I'll go off on a tangent.
Okay.
But let me ask you a question, Eric. How many passerbys were there on the road in this episode total? Did you count?
No, I did not.
Maybe we should make a contest and see if one of our listeners can count how many passerbyers they see on the road.
Yeah, that would be a good contest. So write us, thetragedyofcinema@gmail.com.
See if and then Eric, I'll make Eric go back and count even the little feet and see.
I'll venture a guess of
At the beginning, there's
that
a
are
lot.
on screen.
Yeah, even if it's just their foot walking by.
Oh, is
And
it
the horse.
more than 30?
I don't know. I didn't.
Oh.
I haven't done it.
Oh, I thought you were asking.
I am asking
No,
you because I don't know.
Of course. I thought you did the research.
No.
no.
Why
I
would
have
I
no
do-
clue.
no.
I have no clue.
I don't either.
No.
But you're going to go back and
100?
count.
I don't know. But let's launch into some trivia here, and then we'll save Jimbo's rant for the end, and he can tear it to shreds or whatever he wants to do. But this episode was originally aired 100 years after the beginning of the Civil War. And I won't talk about the Battle of Yellow Tavern because Jimbo's already talked about that. Another Twilight Zone featuring multiple actors from Star Trek, 1966 Star Trek, the original. James Gregory portrayed Dr. Tristan Adams in Season 1's episode called Dagger of the Mind. Joanne Linville was the Romulan commander. I think, Jimbo, you talked about that earlier. And her episode was called The Enterprise Incident in 1968. Rex Holman played Morgan Earp in The Spectre of the Gun in 1968, both from Season 3. In addition, Rex Holman later appeared in Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, that movie from 1989. And we already talked about Jamie Farr and MASH. We talked about Lincoln's quotes of Shakespeare. The elements of this episode are remade in an episode of the 2002 revival named Homecoming. In this episode, a dead soldier returns from Iraq to repair his relationship with his son.
Have you watched that?
No, never. I didn't have enough time to watch that one, but a little bit of backdrop about this episode. Years before Serling wrote his first draft of this episode, he composed a 6-page plot synopsis called The Cause. Human conflict in the same tradition of the Studio One and Playhouse 90 broadcasts was proposed, but with a time period set months after the end of the Civil War. A man named Judd, with a passion for tilling the earth, was returning home from the war when he met a beautiful woman wanting to reclaim what still stands scarred from battle, like the remains of his home and whatever. So he agreed to stay and help raise the crops, and the two soon fell in love. Judd was a gifted guitar player, which broke the still of the evening night when the two relaxed on the porch in the hot summer evenings. Again, if you've seen the episode, that's referenced in the episode. His cause during the war was different from hers, but the two decided to put the past behind them and to move to a brighter future. And when a family relative returns home, she finds herself forced to choose between the man she loves or the family that does not sympathize with Judd's leanings. So it's kind of implied here that maybe one was from the north and one was from the south. They met and fell in love, and now there's conflict, really, because of the Civil War and everything. So the story was accepted by the producers of Matinee Theater, and the teleplay was dramatized on May the 12th of 1958. And then it goes on to talk about the stars. I thought that was an interesting story. But there are obviously things plucked out of that story that are used in this episode. I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, it's kind of a throwback to the first
right.
that we did because they were from opposite sides of the war.
Exactly. And it sounds like they came together and they fell in love and wanted to start a new life. But then obviously old family came in and caused conflict there. So for this Twilight Zone presentation, Sterling created a new premise, adding an element of the supernatural, which wasn't original to the story or originally. So it's set in the same time period, borrowing one of the names of a fictional character and his gift of playing guitar. There were no Walking Dead in the cause. So that's the original teleplay, but there was a brief mention of soldiers wounded and marching back home along the road. During the filming and production, this episode was actually entitled Passersby, singular, not plural. And this was kind of confusing. The next sentence, it says, Serling's teaser and trailer and narration for this episode was done on the evening of August 7th after filming was completed. So I'm guessing that they made it plural in the title after Serling did his little narration and stuff. That it was singular. The title was singular.
But I thought when
first.
I watched, when he gave that trailer at the end of the last episode, that it was plural.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Originally it was singular, but when he did his filming after the episode wrapped, they
I think it
made it
better.
plural. So
Because there's more than one passerby.
right, yeah, and it makes sense. It's just unclear of when it actually was changed. I'm assuming it was changed after Rod did his thing or whatever. And then finally, this last piece of trivia: the character of Judd Godwin was played by Warren Kimberling, and it was a tip of the cap to V.J. Godwin of the Buick Motor Division of General Motors. Godwin and Serling had been in the service together for 3 years during the war. That's World War II, not the Civil War. And Godwin often joked that the South really won the Civil War. Godwin's last name was applied to the character for Serling's amusement, and he wrote to the playwright after viewing the telecast, confessing his surprise and considered the in-joke quite funny.
Nice.
And there was something in here, too, about folks even... I thought I had it on here. Maybe I didn't. Oh, I think it is right here. It's in the goofs section. Let me give you a couple goofs. The two characters here in this episode referred to the Civil War, a northern term that the southern contemporaries would not have used. Even at the time when this show was first aired, many southerners still considered the name Civil War to be offensive and preferred to say the war between the states. Even 100 years later, the South was still pretty sore. So it was only after social upheaval and cultural reevaluations in the late 60s that the term Civil War began to be generally accepted in the South. So that's a goof, I guess. They would have never called it the Civil War back then. But anyway.
The need of the many outweigh the need of the few. Just remember that.
So the Southern Sergeant, this is the second goof, he plays a song called Black is the Color of My True Love's Hair. It's a Scottish-American song that has not been proven to predate 1915. So that song wouldn't have been around in 1865 or whatever. That's, I guess... And the final goof is the crutch that was used by the Confederate soldier is incorrect. The period crutch had only a single post with a slightly curved top piece under the shoulder.
But you got to remember, this is the Twilight Zone. This doesn't say it's... That road could have been going on forever. I mean, they could have been like in a purgatory where they're still walking to get to their final destination.
The purgatory's in the next episode,
oh, that's terrible. But what I'm saying is, I mean, it didn't say, oh, this road is just right now to go, once you die in the Civil War, you're going down this road, and that's the same time period it went on. She could have been sitting there waiting on that porch forever.
You don't know. That's a thin one, man.
I like this episode, but I'm just saying.
No, I mean, I don't think it's a knock against the episode necessarily. It's a goof. Like, the song didn't happen before 1915.
Maybe he wrote it.
Yeah.
I still think he stole the guitar from her husband once he died.
Questions and observations. Hit me with it. Hit me with your quotation from your book, and then tell me what you think about the episode.
Well, you know what I think of this episode, but I always go to my trusty Twilight Zone companion, and I do believe every Twilight Zone fan should have this by Mark Scott Zickery. This is the 3rd edition, so it's expanded and revised. Now, you know how I feel about this book, but I might have to pull this page out and burn it. So here we go. And you're going to see what it says. It says, The Passersby is one of the weakest shows of the first 3 seasons.
Okay. Tell me why.
Well, that right there, I could throw it away right here.
Who wrote this? Is this the author, or is this someone commenting?
Well, hang on. The direction by Elliot Silverstein is competent, and the acting is fine. Although James Gregory, later of Barney Miller, seems too old for the role of a sad balladeer who went off to war to become a man. The episode also has a very pretty score, which I agree, by Fred Steiner. What makes this an embarrassing episode is Serling's script. Turgid, verbose posturing. It takes a long time for the widow and the sergeant to realize what is obvious almost from the beginning. James Gregory recalls a humorous incident from the shooting. On the Passersby, I put my belt buckle on upside down, a big CSA. The director saw it and remarked about it, and I told him, but don't you see, Elliot? These people are dead, and the buckle upside down indicates that status. Well, he gave me a funny look, and then, yes, Jim, I see what you mean. Good touch. I don't think either of us truly understood, but it was good for a laugh. And I also read the director said, I'm not shooting it anyway, so I just let him have his fun. You know what I mean? So, But, yeah, how can you call this one of the weakest shows of season of the first 3 seasons? We've seen plenty of terrible episodes, and just to take a knock at James Gregory being too old to play a struggling balladeer. In the Civil War, they took whoever would come and fight. If you could carry a gun, you were going to fight. You know what I mean? So I disagree with that. So you're going to get the brunt of it, Eric. So I'm just letting you know.
Why? So I didn't write those.
Well, I know, but I know you got something bad to say. So
I don't have anything necessarily bad to say.
This is a fantastic episode. I like history, and when you always bring Abraham Lincoln into it, who's probably one of my favorite presidents, I think this just stands ahead and above everything we've seen in season 3 so far. Austin Green's performance, amazing. James Gregory, great. Lavinia, whatever. She's annoying.
She's a little over the top.
But, could it be the hay fever or whatever fever she had, making her that way? And you could tell she just really missed her husband. War does some strange things to people, as you saw from the quote where it says, war claims most of the victims men, animals, and God's own beauty. To me, like I said, I will give this, drum roll please.
Hold on.
Yeah, drum roll for me.
There you go. Tell us.
We are going to give this a 9.5 out of 10. A 9.5.
Whoa.
5, yes.
Come on, man.
Yes, I'm telling you.
That's higher than any episode you've given to any...
No.
In
Eye of the Beholder was
realm,
a 10.
Oh, it was a 10. Yeah. Okay, I thought it was only a 9.
No. But I think the shadow and lighting of this with... When they brought up the lantern to the guy's face, I mean, that guy... And I don't know if they did this on purpose, but when that horse came up and it was just all black with him, the shadows... Could that be like a pale horse named Death or whatever? I kind of drew that.
Horse of the apocalypse.
Right, but I mean, and his name was Death or whatever, So, yeah, I think this is an outstanding episode. This is awesome. And it will be in my top 10 list. I guarantee you it will be in my top 10 list at the end of the year.
At the end of the season or at the end
Might be at the end of all of it.
Okay. All right, let me write this down. Hold on. Best episode ever.
Well, I said in the top 10. Don't get it twisted.
I'm going to write this date down, too. What is today? The 14th? 15th of January, 2024.
Well, you're the one that said the last episode was going to be in your top 10 of all time, too, and it was terrible.
The Shelter?
Yeah. There's no way it's
say The Shelter was terrible.
You said it was going to be in their top 10 at the end of the series. And I said, remember, we haven't even watched half of the Twilight Zones yet. Do you remember this?
Yes.
And it's not going to be up. This is way better than The Shelter.
Okay. We'll see.
Well, no, I'm telling you.
Can I talk about what I like and dislike?
No, and with that,
the episode's coming to a close. Man, I'm kicked off the show. Jeez.
All right, Eric, go ahead and give me your mediocre review.
Contrary to what you think, I love the cinematography of this, and the silhouetted Yankee lieutenant was
great. And the music
great.
was fantastic, too. I forgot
It was a slow-moving episode, very gloomy and melancholy. Even the featured song that the sergeant plays is very slow, and I think that was on purpose to keep pace with the plotting on the road. I thought it was well done. Austin Green, we already talked about him, that his portrayal of Lincoln was great. Although it was a small part, it reminded me a lot of Daniel Day-Lewis's portrayal of Lincoln. And the movie Lincoln, I think Spielberg's Lincoln, that's like one of my favorite movies of all time. So characteristically high voice and the stilty walk, what things we've already covered, I thought they were great tidbits in the episode. I don't think it's like one of the best episodes I've ever seen. I'd probably give it probably Well, I'm going to give away a little bit because the next episode actually got rated higher on IMDb than this
And
one,
that just
which that
really
is
blows my mind.
completely wrong. This one on IMDb was rated a 7.6, which I think is extremely low. I think it's probably at least an 8. But yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I did think Lavinia's character was a little over the top. It was more of a Gone with the Wind type Southern Belle, played up a little bit, but that's to be expected.
All right, Eric, did you like Lavinia in this episode or Walter Head from The Invaders? Which one did you like better?
Well, Lavinia. Yeah. Agnes Moorehead, great performance, but I hate the episode. All right, so tell me, what is your prop piece for this episode? Did you think about a prop piece?
I did.
You already know what mine is.
Well, you taking the Get box?
The Get box.
Just because I'm going to take Abraham Lincoln's top hat.
Okay.
Just because that performance he did, that's something I want to add to my collection because that is awesome.
He should be retired. Guy should have been buried with that top hat. The great performance, or buried next to Lincoln, maybe somewhere.
Well, you really thought that was the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah.
You think that's the Lincoln Memorial is about our president Abraham Lincoln? No, it's about Austin Green playing Abraham Lincoln in Washington.
Yeah, it was great. So that was the highlight.
And you are taking the Get box?
Yeah, I'm taking the Get box. I'll take it.
You don't want to take the ladle that they feed or the shotgun she shoots the guy with?
No, I'll pass on.
Or
those.
Charlie's bloody hat?
Charlie. Poor Charlie.
Well, I think we rattled on long enough for this episode, but next week, oh man, we got a real barn burner, if you will. It's a game of pool between Jack Klugman and old
Jonathan Winters.
Yeah, terrible, but we'll get there. I know Eric's probably like, "Oh, that was great." We'll have to see. But with that being said, I think this episode's coming to close, and that's a wrap.
And cut.
Incident on a dirt road during the month of April, the year 1865. As we've already pointed out, it's a road that won't be found on a map, but it's one of many that lead in and out of the Twilight Zone.